Before you start the execution stage, you need to know about the potential risks about the project. And the risk management of the project starts with planning and will continue until the project is over. Let's talk about the types of risks first. There are 3 types of risk. They are uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Different people are going to say different name about the types of risks, but the main idea is the same. The uncertainties are the risks that are usually foreseeable. It means that you know that they might happen. They don't always happen, but if they do, you need to be prepared for them. The ambiguities are unforeseeable uncertainties. These are the occurrences that you have absolutely no idea of knowing. And complexities are usually the parts of the project that turn out to be more complex than anticipated. Now let's talk about the risk management plan. There are 4 steps to the risk management plan. First, identification, then assessment, planning response, and lastly, monitoring and controlling. Let's talk about identification first. First, you need to identify the potential risk factors. Now, how do you actually do that? First of all, you need to analyze previous projects. You can also consult with experts. Brainstorming is also a great idea for identifying risk factors. Now let's talk about an example first. Obviously, the example for class project. Assuming that you are not a freshman in school, you must have attended multiple group projects in the past. You might have some ideas that where some of the problems might lie. Based on your own experience, you know that 1 or 2 group members might be underperformers and their works are not going to be up to the mark all the time. You can also brainstorm among each others to figure out what problems might arise during the project. And of course, your professor is going to be the expert in this case. He has possibly assigned similar projects to hundreds of other groups. You can just go straight to him and ask what are the potential problems you might face that you need to look out for. The professor will be more than likely to tell you about them, and he or she might even appreciate you asking them for suggestion. That was the identification part of risk management process. Now we come to assessment. After you have identified the risks in the project, you need to figure out the likelihood or probability of that happening. And you also need to figure out the impact that it will have if it happens. Now let's talk about the example again. Let's think that one of the risks can be your group member John not completing the task properly. The likelihood of that happening is going to be high, since you already know that John is actually a slacker. But the impact is going to be a minor one since everybody knows John to be a slacker. Another case of risk can be that there can be a huge storm on the day you have decided to go to the market visit. The probability of that happening is low, but if it does happen, the impact will be a major one. That is because your entire project is going to be delayed. And probably you might not even be able to submit the project on time to the professor. In the assessment part, you find out the impact and the probability. The impacts can be major or minor, and the probabilities can be high or low. Then after the assessment, you are going to have to plan your response. First of all, you are going to plan your response strategy. It is better to have both mitigating strategies and contingency strategies. Then you need to assign responsibility to someone in the group. So if John messes up, you can decide that Eddie is going to take care of that part. That way the responsibility will go to Eddie. And the last stage would be monitoring and controlling. At this stage, the project has started. While the project is going on, you need to monitor and control for the risk factors. And if something goes wrong, you need to execute planned strategies accordingly. And you also need to update the impact and probability of every risk factors. Previously, we learned that John is usually a slacker. But during this project, you might see that John is really pulling his weight. And he has done all of his tasks correctly. If that happens, you can later say that the chances of John not completing his task properly will be medium to low. After you do all of that, you will have a complete risk register. I will make a video about risk register soon. And from the duration of the video, you know that this is not actually the end of this video. I wanted to end the video at this point, but I would like to add a couple of more points here so that I don't have to make a separate video on that. The topic I'd like to talk about here is cost risk analysis. It is a fairly easy topic. That is because the result of cost risk all the time is going to be your project needing more money. So the solution would be having a contingency budget. Having a contingency budget is going to help you in order to pay for any unforeseen costs. The important thing here is to remember that you should keep the contingency budget for the entire project, not to singular tasks. Some tasks might get a little more out of budget than others. That way, when the project manager has the ability to adjust the budget of the entire project, he or she will be able to adjust the costs accordingly. And lastly, I would like to talk about ambiguity. Ambiguity means that something no one could have foreseen before. The only way to solve for ambiguities is through trial and error. You need to go with one approach and see if that approach is working, and then make changes accordingly. An example can be that John is working really well, but somehow he has an upset stomach and cannot go to the market visit. No one could have foreseen that before, but since John is unable to go to the market, someone else needs to go there. And with that, I would like to end this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something new today. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. And for the bonus part, I would like to say that Spanish for what happened is ¿Qué pasó? And that was the official end of this video.